We have our special guest here, Michelle. I'm so glad you finally get to meet him.
I know.
Tyler Henry is here.
So happy to be here.
The Hollywood medium.
And he's so fun to watch.
You know what? There's so much love. There's such a sweetness about you.
Oh, thank you so much.
That I just, and I love sweetness and kindness are my number one traits.
Absolutely.
Genuine.
Yes.
For sure.
Now, do you know you're a sweet person?
Oh, well, I just try to be compassionate. I think fundamentally, everything that I do, I just try to better people as best I can. And for me, that's just how I kind of try to use my ability.
Well, do you ever just say, I ain't got time for these folks. You can't save them.
Well, I definitely find that when I meet people, I try to not really view it as my responsibility to help them. I believe that what comes through just comes through naturally and authentically. And I think that we're all on our own paths. And I think that I just try to be there for people to the extent that I can. And sometimes people are super open to that. Other times less so. But I think that every interaction has a lesson and there's something to be learned in.
But people expect you to be, Michelle's sitting over there. She can't wait to ask you something.
I'm not going to ask nothing. No.
But people do expect you to be not only their savior, but their guide. I mean, even people at the grocery store, I'm sure.
Sure, absolutely. I've been stopped before on the street, and I've even before gotten feelings in public with people and actually walked up to them and shared that with them. And early actually on in my discovery of my ability, I would find that I would be in public and I would get inundated with information. And I remember one instance, I was in basically a supermarket, and I walked up to a woman who I felt her father was coming through. And I walked up to her and said, I just have to tell you I'm a medium, and I don't know if your dad's passed, but he's just having me tell you that he wanted you to know that he wanted you to know that he loved you in his last moments, and that's what he was trying to say when he was choking. And I said, did he have throat cancer? And she burst into tears crying. And this woman basically just didn't even know how to process this because her father, who had throat cancer, had indeed passed away. And in those last moments, she was trying to figure out what he was trying to say. And so that one moment really changed how I viewed delivering information. It made me realize that it's really important to have a time and a place. Because so this was a woman on aisle 7 breaking down, and I'm looking for some, chicken. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't know whether to hug you or to embrace you. So it was a total stranger. So.
And how old were you at that time?
At that time, I was around 12 years old or so.
12 years old?
So imagine this kid coming up to you at the supermarket.
My goodness.
Literally.
How old were you when you realized you possessed these voices?
Well, for me, it really started at the age of 10, and I had a premonition of my grandmother's passing. I grew up in a household that didn't really talk about mediums, psychics, none of that, and they're very skeptical, very see it to believe it kind of, family. And I just found that I basically had this knowingness that my grandmother was going to die. And I woke up, went to the other room to tell my mom, and I said, Mom, I just had this feeling. And before we were able to walk out the door, her phone rang.
Shut up that
and
day.
When she picked it up, it was my dad on the other line saying she just passed away. And from that moment, my life changed forever.
And now, of course, we're going to get into all of this, but, everyone has intuition. Why do you think that yours has come through so strongly?
I think it's because I trust it. I think that for me, I really went through a process of going, into a faith-based belief system as a child, growing up Christian. And, I was really told what to believe. And as time went on, I started finding that with these visions and impressions I would get, I would share them and people would validate them. And it really shifted my perspective from one of faith to one of trust. And I would trust in what I felt. I would trust in what I would experience. And upon sharing with others, I would get validation that it made sense. And so that trust, I think, is an inherent part of connecting to our intuition, and is oftentimes why people don't connect to their own intuition, because they don't trust themselves.
So you think that most people it doesn't come through strongly because they don't trust the feeling, or maybe it's that they confused feelings that they project into the situation rather than feel innate, real. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. In a reading, I always say, my sixth sense kind of uses the other 5 senses to come through. So I basically have to put aside...
Wait a minute, that sounds like math. Wait a minute. Okay, you said your sixth sense
uses the other 5 senses to communicate. So in a reading, I might get a physical sensation that corresponds with how someone passed. I might have a visual. I might hear a voice. Or I might even get like a physical feeling. And so it basically uses all of these senses. And that can be really kind of difficult to navigate. But I have to just deliver it as it comes through.
What happens in your dreams?
That can be interesting. I really find that sleep is the one thing where we go to decompress and try to rejuvenate. And in my earlier years, it was really difficult because I'd finally go to sleep and I'd wake up tired. And so as time's gone on, I've been able to kind of have more of a time and a place. And as I've channeled readings and kind of created more of a space to do readings, I find that information doesn't really come through extraneously in my dreams as much. So it's just kind of a matter of funneling that information at the right time and the place so that I can maintain some sense of normalcy.
Now, for a lot of people who don't understand, I was told years ago that a medium is called a medium because humans, most people emote a frequency, a low frequency, and the spirit world is on a high frequency, and that mediums are the people
right?
Yeah, who can understand and interpret both those frequencies.
Oh, that makes
Right.
sense.
Absolutely. I actually describe it kind of like when people come through from the other side, it's almost like they're diving off a diving board into a deep pool. And when they come through, they kind of are at the bottom of that pool and they can't stay for long. They tend to only communicate, really brief messages. But for them, they kind of have to lower their vibration and I have to raise mine and we kind of meet in the middle. And where we meet in the middle is where that exchange of information comes through.
Wow. Have you ever been frightened by things that
Yeah,
come
like anything
through?
dark.
People often ask and expect, that I would have had experiences with like demons or anything coming through. But I really found that everything that came through was inherently pretty positive.
Do you seal yourself with ask for like the arcane, like the light angels instead of the dark ones come?
I definitely, found through processing religion and kind of understanding my place and how I view it that I really have just set the focus and the intention of helping the person in front of me, regardless of what that entails. And when I set that intention going into a reading, information is not going to come through that's scary or frightening because that doesn't align with that energy, that frequency of trying to help that person. And I never know, who I'm reading, where I'm going, or what I'm going to say until I just show up and I'm there. And information can come through, and sometimes it can be super poignant about a big tragic loss. And other times it's just a small little guidance or a piece of advice for the person. But I believe that everything that comes through with a purpose. For sure.
A lot of people have a natural talent. Go and brush up on those talents. Like if you're a singer, you go to a voice class. If you're an actor, you go to acting classes.
So what do you do? Call James Von Prague or John Edward?
And say, hey, let's have lunch.
Yeah.
No, we haven't. In fact, I had lunch with John Edward the other day.
He's amazing.
He's great. He's so
Yeah.
lovely. And it's wonderful because, there are definitely very credible mediums out there and everyone works a little differently. So I find that even when I'm able to connect with John Edward or James, we work really fundamentally differently in the way that we process information. So though there's a relatability in being a public medium, when it comes to some of the personal issues that I deal with processing my ability, can sometimes even in that sense be difficult.
Wait, help me understand that. You're saying in your own personal life, they help you navigate how to...
They understand what it's like to be in the public eye and the criticism and, how to navigate people.
And you're
deal
so
with people.
young.
Right.
Yeah.
because
And
you're
they
how
paved the
old?
way.
21?
21. I just
And he's just started. These guys, John and James and
Yeah.
Sylvia, rest in peace, have started in their older years.
for sure.
They started late?
Yeah, like
They
John
did.
Edwards started in his, 40s
30s or 40s.
Yeah.
something
Did
like
he
that.
always have the ability?
He claimed that since 15, I believe, that is when he discovered his ability. And
I think a
it's
lot of
coincided.
these kids, like the medical medium who I've told you about, is the same. He's like was 9 or something.
Yeah.
Right. And did John Edward just ignore it until he was in his 30s?
I think he just went through a process of refinement because,
Yeah.
it's something that people can have and not really understand how to work with.
And like, what is it?
Right. And
Yeah.
how do you turn feelings into a controlled setting of a reading?
Yes.
That's kind of the hard part. It's one thing to have a psychic experience. It's another thing to agree to meet with someone for an hour and communicate, everything that's
Yeah.
coming through.
Did someone train you? Did someone sit you down and say, this is how you should do it?
Not at all. I started really professionally working when I was 16 pretty heavily and was in a small town. I was intending to become a hospice nurse. So I graduated high school early.
What small town?
Hanford, California. So
Hanford?
Is that
Hanford,
north?
that's, near Fresno. So Central Valley.
Yeah.
And so I had the intention of becoming a hospice nurse and was
You'd
going
be
to
great at
college.
that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Why did you think I'm going to do a hospice nurse?
Well, I wasn't necessarily sure that I wanted to be a public medium. I knew that I had this ability, and I knew that when I was 16, but I felt like I could help people who really needed it most by being there in the hospice kind of setting and being able to tell people in their last moments, there was nothing to be afraid of, and giving them that validation. And so that was how I intended to apply my ability. But as I was going to college, other opportunities took off. I was doing readings on the side to supplement going to college. And before I knew it, I just felt
Michelle
like
was doing the same thing. She didn't call it readings,
No.
though.
Oh, you know.
No, I didn't. It was supplemental income. You just got to do it.
That I don't see. Oh, my. But I'm feeling it, so this is getting really interesting.
Yes, exactly.
So you were studying health and medicine in college.
Right.
In Hanford, California.
Yeah, but went into a local college in Lemoore. So, yeah, it was basically just a whole process of kind of figuring out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to apply this. And ultimately, I found that I think my calling just kind of led exactly where it was meant to. So I'm really thankful.
He is a combination of Macaulay Culkin and our dear Ian,
Yes.
isn't he?
Yes.
And that's why I think we have an even more love affair with
Yes.
him. Because you really are so kind. And I think that's what separates you from the others. I think your youth is a big part of it. But you have this sense of non-jadedness and non-bitterness that when starting older, we've lived a bit of a life and we know what's out there. You're so kind of virgin, like untouched in a
Yeah.
way,
This,
that it's pure.
Thank you.
And I just want to mother him.
Yeah.
Come here,
No,
baby.
I think I feel the same way. I respond to that. I've always responded to sweetness.
Yes.
I think kindness and sweetness are my favorite things on this planet, and laughter.
Yes,
Laughter
of course,
is
of
right
course.
up there too.
sure.
So now so you've been a professional at this for 7 years,
Yeah, quite
something
some
like
time.
Good
that.
math.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
My.
I know.
That's
the
very,
name.
you don't know how impressive that is.
Yeah.
Very.
And so, how did the TV show come about? You're about to start. How many seasons have you done?
Oh, I've done season 2, and hopefully we'll hear about a season 3 soon.
I watch them on the airplane. They are so
Yes.
fun because when you're up
Thank
there,
you.
it kind of hones you in and you see,
Right.
it calms me down anyway.
What is it about hearing that makes people so emotional, them cry?
Right. I think, people all fundamentally can relate to the idea of loss. I mean, we're all going to lose somebody in our life physically. And so I think that whether someone's coming with a particular intention of connecting to one person or just seeing what happens, what comes through is inherently affecting because of the nature of it. It's
Right.
connective. It's showing people that this is energy, that the bonds that we make in this life never die, and that continues on, and that the legacy of our loved ones continues on through our actions and
Right.
all that.
So now you're about to talk about how the TV show happened.
Right.
Yeah. How did that?
So that was interesting. I was actually, while in college, commuting back from my small town to LA to meet the demand with clients and readings on the weekends.
Because they were all down here in LA.
Mostly.
Okay.
Yeah. So word of mouth spread really quickly. From
Did
the
you
small
drive
town.
yourself?
No, my mom drove me, and I still
Oh
don't
my
have my
God.
license.
Oh
So
my God,
She drove me here. She drove me here.
She drove you
She drove me here.
here.
But the reason being is actually when I go to readings, I pick up on impressions really
Yes.
strongly.
Yeah.
So if you watch the show, you'll see in the car, I often know what I'm going to tell the client
Yeah.
before I even meet the person I'm reading. So that can be a really interesting part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it really just evolved from coming to LA, and then I started get invited to parties. And I went to this one party with my manager around Christmas time, and I met a man, and he was a producer, and he said, "Oh, you're a medium. That's an interesting idea." And he said, "I'm a skeptic, but I'd like to get a reading." So my gut just told me to go with it, and we booked the reading the next day, and it was one of the most emotional readings of my entire life. And he basically said, "Well, I don't know what this is. I don't know how to process this, but I know that it can help people." And from there, literally over the course of 3 months, everything fell into place. I was offered a television show from E! And it literally just fell into place exactly.
So
as
the
it was meant.
producer you spoke, and you went to his house after the party, and he got very emotional.
Yes, he
because
really
he broke that shit down for him.
and he was skeptical, which is understandable.
Most
Many
people
are.
are, I think.
Yeah, most people are.
Understandably.
And how does a psychic medium get a manager?
Well, that's a process. For me, I find that with scheduling and things like that, I need help with that just like anybody
Right.
else. So he helped set up appointments, and it also helped with the anonymity of clients. For me, it was really important to not know who I was reading in advance.
Sure,
so
yes.
he'd basically just be like, this is where you're going, and
Yeah.
there you go. And
Yeah.
I would show up, and what happens, happens. So.
I think I know we're going to take a break real soon, but I think that the emotional part comes because in that most people live our lives in a facade, and we ignore the fact that we come from a spiritual source.
Yes.
And I think once someone reminds us, who we trust,
Right.
that we are from spirit, that's when the facade breaks down and the emotions come through.
Absolutely.
I think that's exactly
It's a realization
what happens.
moment.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you ever get emotional during the readings? Did you ever lose your marbles?
It's actually really hard because in a reading, I'm going through a technical process. I'm interpreting what I'm seeing, hearing, and feeling. So I have to kind of keep my own emotions and feelings to the side. But because of the nature of it, there have been times, and you'll see on the show, where I can't really keep it together, where I can't ignore how I'm feeling about what I'm saying to the person or how they're reacting. And so there have been moments where I've cried or where I've had to take a moment of pause and say, this is affecting me on a personal level. I have to feel this and respect this, but then put it to the side and continue being the messenger. It's like the mailman can't burst into tears because of the mail he's having to deliver.
Exactly.
He's got to pull it together and drive up and hand it, and
That's right.
So that's the thing.
and how do you nourish yourself? How do you replenish your energy?
A lot of alone time. I found that for me, really being in nature has been like the most important thing. I love painting. I recently moved kind of near the Malibu area, so
The
middle of
bitches
nowhere.
moved to Malibu.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, E.
You know, but it's so peaceful and it's just ideal. So that really helps, of course.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you're very successful now, aren't you?
Oh, shucks. I'm very lucky. I'm very thankful. I'm very appreciative.
Yeah.
And talented, gifted.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
And I guess it comes to a point where mom won't have to drive. You just hire a limo.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
She'll drive the limo.
Sorry, Mama.
No.
I got me a driver.
Pick her up.
Driving Miss Tyler. We're in.
Exactly. That's what it's like.
Now tell us when the show is on,
Right.
Because it's also on Hulu or one of the other ones too,
Or Netflix.
Netflix.
Mhm. Yeah, it's all over. It basically comes back in May, so I think we're not sure on a certain date specifically yet, but we're looking at May.
Right, because they rerun it all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
So it'll go through May through August is what it's.
How many episodes have you done for the second season?
22.
22.
Oh,
That's
my
a
goodness.
lot.
And it's about 4 readings per episode, so it's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work.
Yeah, but it's fun. It keeps it really interesting.
Now, have you ever gone to see a psychic yourself? Has anyone ever read you?
I've been read probably over 200 psychics.
By one
What?
of the queens from,
Oh,
not
yeah.
one,
The
one of
House
the queens
Down.
from, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's many I've been read. And for me, I found that it's actually interesting because if I
Wait a
find one
minute,
that's legit-
I interrupted you.
Oh, no,
What
no.
so I was trying to make a joke, but you were saying you have been read by another
Oh,
psychic?
yeah,
200.
Over 200.
Really?
And some have been legitimate, some not.
Uh-huh.
But there was actually a medium that I saw when I went around when I was 16. And she told me, she said, your life path is to become a medium. You're going to write 3 books by the time you're 25. You're going to go to Hollywood. You're going to read all of these people. And I looked at this lady in Hanford and was like, okay, that's funny. Like, you're telling me what I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And then sure enough, every single thing she said ended up transpiring. She said, you'll get a television show when you're 19, not when you're 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I was slated to get a television show when I was 18. And I thought, she was wrong. Sure enough, fell through and then came through when I was 19. So she predicted essentially everything that happened.
You still talk to her?
I sure do. And I'm kind of
Wow.
afraid to ask. I'm like, hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully it's still good. Like 3 books before I'm 25. I'm like, I'm writing the second one right now.
That's
so.
I love it.
amazing.
I have so many questions for you. Tyler Henry is here, the Hollywood Medium on E! Network, and a lot of people can watch it on, I guess, on Hulu or
It's
Netflix.
everywhere. Just
It's
the
everywhere.
Hollywood
On
Medium,
the
yeah.
airplane.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Now, Michelle, I think we can take credit for this. Casper mattresses have become the internet's most preferred mattress.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
No, because, we talk about how fantastic they are, and they really are fantastic. Now, Casper is an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price. And we got over 20,000 reviews with an average of 4.8 stars. I think that's us.
Yeah, I think that's us too, because quite honestly, they were one of the first ones, if not the first one, to be on board with What's the Tea. And honestly, you guys, the beauty about Ru and I doing our own podcast, where we don't belong to a big company or radio station, is that we get to talk about the stuff that we actually want to talk about and that we believe in, okay? And Casper mattress is one that I swear about it. I swear about it. I sleep on it every single night, and you too can do the same. You can get $50 toward any mattress purchase by visiting Casper.com/Ru. Use that offer code RU. What are you waiting for? Go to Casper.com/Ru and get started for the best night's sleep ever today.
Uh-huh. We've got Tyler Henry here, the Hollywood Medium, and he's just so fabulous.
And adorable.
Just amazing. So you grew up in a Christian background, and
Right.
psychics and things, that wasn't a part
That's
of...
devil's work, isn't it?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what they would say. And so I would go to church and, it wasn't really something that people actively spoke against. They just didn't talk about it. I didn't know what a psychic was. I didn't know
Right.
what a medium was. You know what ghosts are when you're a kid growing up and you watch Casper, but that was the extent of it. I mean, truly.
What are ghosts?
I have a hard time when it comes to certain phrasing because certain things have certain connotations. Like, it's why I avoid the word heaven or hell. Because if I say, our loved ones are in heaven, people think of the pearly gates and the
Yeah.
clouds, and they think of more of a Christian-oriented focus.
See, I think of Soul Train. I think of the TV show Soul
course
Train.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's for me. I have to be kind of careful in the way that I put things.
But is there a
I-
darkness and a light in the afterlife?
I think that there's definitely a contrast. I don't know necessarily how things work, and that's why I'm very careful when I claim to know something. But I do know that, I think life is about learning. I think that when we pass away, we come to terms with our ego. We learn that life was a series of lessons. We kind of undergo a whole process of understanding what our ego taught us and what we can really learn and what we taught others. And it's really just a process of kind of taking accountability and seeing what our soul's lessons are. And everyone that comes through oftentimes acknowledges, taking accountability or saying something of I understand this now from where I'm at.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And that's really poignant for the people that I read because, if you have someone who has like an alcoholic father, he may come through and say, I'm sorry for what I didn't acknowledge in life and what I didn't take accountability for in life.
Now that you do this TV show, are you still able to do private bookings? Or are you so booked that it's like, forget it?
I try to do private bookings as much as I can. And
That's how he has that Malibu.
And so I guess as the TV show goes, your rate has gone up because of the
It's
demand.
freaking better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, for me, a bit of a struggle. I'm trying to figure out a way to basically read everybody and as many people as I can while trying to still maintain some sense of health
Yeah.
because it does
Yes.
take a lot out of me
Yes.
with physical stuff. So
Right.
I'll do charity readings where I'll do basically like a whole week where I'll do nothing but readings for free. Like I'll have a whole list of people who have contacted me who can't afford a reading. I'll do them, and then I'll do a whole week of paying clients and just kind of alternate. And I find that works for me because I'm able to make a living, which I have to,
Yeah.
and also help people who really need it, who might not be able to be in a position where they can help.
That's beautiful.
financially.
It's like therapists.
Yeah, it is. Now, I believe you're in a relationship. How does your gift affect your relationship? I mean, and do you get feelings and then want to tell your partner, or do you hold back and not say anything?
Yeah, what do you do?
You know, it's funny because I've contacted him with his grandmother, his aunt, and his cousin, like super thoroughly to the point where he's filled notebooks.
Shut up.
And they've all passed away over the duration, you know, and so it's been crazy. I find that, you know, this is such a unique lifestyle that I can tell very quickly whether someone is right for it or not. If they're running for the hills, there's a reason they're running for the hills. If someone isn't comfortable with me being around them, they might have something to hide.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not someone I want to be around anyway.
Yeah.
So, I found that if anything, it really helps me connect on a very personal level, on a level that most people don't get to connect with.
Right.
Their
Has he
partners.
ever said, I don't want to hear anymore?
He's always been open to it. So
Yeah.
I'm really
I think
thankful.
that's why there's a connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd want to hear it all. Tell
Yeah, I
me.
know, right?
Yeah.
Every
Right.
minute coming through.
Because have you seen the movies over the years that deal with this? There's a movie called Resurrection. I think Sam Shepard is in it. I think
Love Sam
it's been
Shepard.
so many
He's amazing.
years. And then there was one. There was the Dead Zone, the Stephen King book that turned into a movie with Christopher Walken. Have you seen those?
I haven't seen either. I'm a little uncultured.
Yeah. Well, I'm
You're
just
also a
wondering.
baby. It's okay.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, are you opposed to seeing those kinds of things? Do you not want to sort of put that into your consciousness?
I definitely think there's been a lot of creative depictions of mediumship that have been accurate.
You're calling it mediumship?
Yeah, mediumship.
I love
yeah,
that.
I know.
Mediumship.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm large ship.
Large ship,
Yeah.
small ship. Yeah, well, another variety. But there are so many different depictions. I'd say Hereafter with Matt Damon was probably one of the most accurate
Was it?
depictions of mediumship. And
I saw
Clint
that.
Eastwood directed that.
That's why.
Yes,
years
I
ago.
vaguely remember it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there definitely are some depictions, but it's not like Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost.
Right, right. So you did see Hereafter?
I did see Hereafter.
Yeah, I saw it. I forgot it. I remember it. I don't remember it. Wait a minute. Something. You
Yeah,
you
I
figured
got
it
you.
out.
I got
Yeah.
you. I got you.
I saw it, but yeah.
Yeah.
What are your goals? You've got this TV show. Do you think you'll do this TV show for the rest of your life?
Well, I'm so thankful just to have the opportunity. It feels surreal every single day. For me, my goal is really just to be able to reach a large audience of people. Fundamentally, you know, with the show, I'm thankful for the platform, but I want to be able to travel. I am really enjoying writing books. I found that that's a really interesting thing in being able to kind of share a message and share my experience with people without necessarily having to have a one-on-one reading. And one of the things with the show that I speak on is that, you know, you don't necessarily have to receive a reading personally to benefit and to heal
Right.
on some level.
True.
Because you can see that healing transpire in others. You can see that validation in others. And as we see that in others and we see how that changes their life, we can feel validated ourselves and our role in the universe.
What are the names of your books?
Well, right now I have Between Two Worlds, and I'm working on a second one, which doesn't have a title yet.
Between Two Worlds. And what is that your story, or what does it deal with?
Well, Between Two Worlds basically was pitched as a memoir, but really in order to tell my story, because I'm only 21, you really have to fill it with stories of other people.
Yeah.
And that's the stories of the clients that I've read, the spirits that have came through. And it was really important for me to never be preachy because I'm 21 years old. I'm a 21-year-old guy. It was important for me to be able to tell people, this is my experience. This is what's came through. This is what I've learned. And you can resonate with what you will. Take it for what it is. And it's really, for me, was just a resource for people who might be looking for some sense of connection, understanding their own ability, or just trying to really figure out, you know, how their loved ones come through and connect to them personally.
Right.
You know, listen, I'm sitting here watching, and it's amazing to see you talk. And you always know, Ru and I have always been supportive and gone to mediums and psychics for a very long time. The same people always come through for me personally. I don't know about you, Ru.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Same people always come through. What is that? What do you think that is? That it's the same people? That is it just to show you like they're the ones that are always with you type of thing?
Absolutely. It's interesting because sometimes people will come for reading and we have our top 5 people we always want to hear from. And I always tell people, take that expectation and put it to the side.
Right.
Because who's going to come through is meant to come through.
Right.
But I do find that oftentimes a lot of the same figures will manifest in readings and people will kind of have a continued relationship with these loved ones on the other side through mediums. I believe it's just a testament to that connection and a validation of that. Because if you're going to go to 10 mediums and they're all going to bring through the same person,
Yeah.
pretty validating.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, if you have a child who may possess this gift, what advice do you have for someone who's dealing with this?
I would say really to nurture it. For me, it was really important going through this experience to not be scared. I had a lot of people who told me, this is
scary.
Like the devil. Yeah.
Yeah.
But really, I found that for me, what I did was all about really sharing, and for me, it was about compassion fundamentally. And I think it's important to frame it in that way. People oftentimes get scared by the idea of what it could be, or this misconception of a crystal ball and the long fingernails. And, So it's important to be able to, I think, to kind of break it down to your child if they are intuitive, to say, look, you have an intuition. We all have an intuition. There's not one way to be psychic. There's not one way to be medium. And that's really important, as far as that goes, I would say.
Yeah. Years ago, in my youth, I took a lot of acid. I took a lot of acid. And
don't do it, kids.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I don't need to. I have plenty of visions as it is.
Yeah. All through my 20s, I did it once a week, lots of it. And there were people who would freak out with taking acid, and I never did. And I think it has to do with the idea of the roles that we play in our daily lives. Acid allows you to see past that, and it opens up sort of a door, a window, and a lot of people can't see that through that door because it freaks them out, because it's different from the facade, the daily thing that we, So when you do readings, do you ever have people like freak the fuck out?
Absolutely. I have a lot of people who come for the show who are clients who think that when they're going to show up, they probably aren't even expecting it to be real. And then suddenly I start saying things and you see this change in their face. When they go from expecting this to not be real to, oh shit, this is real.
Right.
And you can see that change. And I see it on the show, every episode. It's a shift, and it's something that when they have this moment of realization, you can't unrealize that. Yeah. And that can definitely, elicit a lot of different reactions. But if anything, the goal is to heal.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier about, you asked Tyler about children with intuition.
Yeah.
I think my younger daughter has a bit of sensitivity. So I'm friends with John Edwards. So I was messaging him. And 3 times when there was catastrophes in the world, she'd wake up in the middle of the night panicking, not knowing what was wrong. And in the morning, she'd find out that one was in Paris and these things happened. So I contacted him and he said that there's a book called Infinite Quest. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Right.
He recommended it. It's on development. And I said, I just feel like she's more of an empath, like she's emotionally connected to people rather than a medium. Sure.
Wait a minute. What's an empath and what's an...
An empath feels what the other person is feeling.
I see.
That's why if you ever hear somebody say, be empathic, like...
Oh, I get it.
An empath... What's her face on Star Trek? Deanna.
Yeah. Right.
He says it's the same arena. She needs to learn how to protect herself. Look up psychic self-defense. So this book is called Infinite Quest that he was recommending. Because sometimes he said that hers might just be a normal intuition, just a bit stronger than most, not a gift per se. But it's good to know that there's not only books like Tyler's out there, but John was talking about this book. So if you feel like your child might have something,
absolutely,
Infinite Quest could be a good book too.
Right. So your child has too much sensitivity on things.
Oh, honey.
Yeah.
Does she ever? That's the younger one.
Well, that's a lot. That's what a lot of people have. That I think in one of the movies, I think it was in the movie Resurrection, the person, it becomes too overwhelming. And so they move to the middle of nowhere to get away from people.
Right.
Do you ever feel that way? Do you ever just think, people, leave me alone?
There's definitely moments. I have bad days. I have days where, like any work day, it's not that great of a work day. Yeah. And there's times where I want to shut off, or maybe where I just want to be a 21-year-old guy. But it's something that I've gone through since I was 10 years old, and I've had to adjust with life with it. But it's given me a lot, and I always remember that. And when I see the change in a person when I leave them and how a reading has affected them, that makes everything worth it, no matter.
But you are a 21-year-old kid. Don't you ever want to just take your shirt off and go to West Hollywood and paint some rain?
Who says he doesn't?
Who says I don't exactly?
Yeah. Who says
21
he doesn't?
now. Find me on the table.
He's legal. Yep. Get your dollars ready.
Exactly. Make it rain. Make it rain.
I love it.
But no, okay. So, but when you're in your private life, though, do the voices come through, and you want to say thanks, but no thanks?
Like, I'm busy right now.
Yeah,
for sure, absolutely. And when that happens, I'll kind of whip out my notebook and write down what I was going to, communicate. And then if I meet the person or I interact with the person that message is going to be delivered to, then I'll deliver it. But I have a notebook by my bed, and if I'm just ever there, I'm like,
because you do that on the.
Yeah.
What does
write on
that
the
do
show.
for you? The doodling.
Right.
It's really
Yeah.
scribbling.
Right. Yeah. On the show, I scribble, and that's basically how I refine my process of getting in the zone and kind of connecting to the information. Otherwise, I would just be constantly inundated with stuff coming through.
Right.
So through scribbling, I found that I was actually on the phone with a friend once in my teen years, and she was talking, and I was just doodling, as you often do when you're on the phone. And as I was doodling, I started realizing information was coming through about the friend that I was talking to. So I thought, okay, that's kind of interesting. That must be doing something, maybe quieting a part of my brain or distracting me or something. So I said, okay, I'll integrate this into readings and see what happens. So sure enough, I started scribbling and found that it almost quieted a part of my brain and allowed a more subconscious part to come through. So just distracting myself enough with a scribble on some level was a focus that I could kind of, have a centered aspect on and then be able to allow that subconscious.
That's like that EMDR in therapy.
Yes.
Right.
It's just like that. It's like washing the dishes when you have an issue or vacuuming, and
Yep.
it allows your
thought
mental
process, yeah.
sphincter to open up
That one.
and
Yes.
flow. Let it flow.
And receive.
Right.
And receive,
Yeah.
exactly, as one does. Now, you talked about your mother. You and your mother are very close. Have you ever done a reading on her? Can you do relatives like that?
You know, it's actually harder to read people that I'm close to, and I always say it's because of bias. So a big reason why I never want to know who I'm reading or where I'm going is because I don't want to be biased with any preconceived notions about the person.
It's the sweetest thing when you walk up and you don't know him. You're like, oh my God, I'm such a fan.
I was like, Boy George, I have no idea who you are.
yeah.
But she was not happy about it. I will
But you're
say.
a baby.
You know, his career was 10 years before I was born. But no. So, there are moments, but I find that, it really helps. Like with my mom, I sometimes will get a medical, intuitive feeling, and I'll share that with her. But when it comes to people coming through or big life events, sometimes I'm a little too emotionally invested to be able to get a clear insight.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a lot of responsibility for someone your age. When I was 21, oh my goodness. I was having the time of my life.
Nobody can tell you nothing. You weren't
couldn't
looking
tell
to
me nothing.
You weren't looking to settle down and shit.
No.
Only people you were trying to read was at the club.
Exactly.
I love it.
It was. I love that you're doing. I just wonder. Does anybody ever say, oh, I want you to go out and do your thing, though?
Well, that's
it's
the
just a lot of
thing.
responsibility.
But he
is.
is, though, I
It
think
is.
you are.
Yeah, I feel like I'm following my calling, but at the same time, at 10 years old, my life changed, and I was never a normal 10-year-old after that.
Right.
I mean, my life changed in every respect. So, high school was different than everybody else. College was different than everybody else. But
Your brothers and sisters?
I'm an only child. So,
Only child.
Yep, no competition.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a good way to look at it.
We got Tyler Henry with. We're going to take a real quick break. We'll be right back with more. Michelle, I grew up loving magazines, but I don't read them as much anymore because I don't want to deal with all of the recycling
And the bulk.
And the bulk
Yeah.
of it. Well, that's all changed now because of texture.
Thank God for
Thank
texture.
God for texture. You can have over 200 titles.
If that's what you
If
want.
that's what you want for such a low price. We're talking $9.99. If you go to the Texture app, you can have some of the biggest titles in the history of magazines. We're talking Vogue. We're talking Vanity Fair. We're talking Entertainment Weekly, People Magazine. They're all there.
And our generation was a magazine-obsessed
Oh,
generation.
yes.
That's
Oh,
where
yes.
we got our news. That's where we got our fashion.
Yes.
I'm not even kidding. It was such a big deal. And so that's why I will always be a magazine reader. And I remember one of your kind of punchlines growing up was always, I'm not a book reader. I'm a magazine reader.
Yes, it
Remember?
was.
That
Yes.
was always one of your things. And texture makes magazines easy. There's so many great titles out there. We're talking about Vogue, Vanity Fair, all the great titles that Ru and I would like. But of course, there's hundreds more because there's like 200 titles for you to choose
Oh,
from.
God, yes.
Texture searchable. You can mark what you like. You can check out back issues, which is always a bitch when you try to find them. They've got them all for you there on Texture. You can view the bonus video content, which if you go to your favorite magazine online, they're like, oh, you have to be a member.
Yes.
Not anymore with Texture. And it's normally $9.99 a month and you get over 200 magazines. But if you sign up right now, just think about it, you guys, sidebar. $9.99 a month isn't even enough for one magazine.
Right.
You get over 200 for $9.99 a month.
Yeah.
And if you sign up right now at texture.com/Ru, you get a 14-day free trial. So why subscribe to just a couple when you can have all your favorites on your smartphone or your tablet all at the same time for way less?
It's just great. You can start that free trial. You get all these fabulous magazines, and girl, you will be in the sea. You want to be up? What's the sea?
That's the way to do it.
It's all up in here, child.
So go ahead and download the Texture app. Texture's offering our listeners a 14-day free trial when you go to texture.com/Ru. Hope my New Jersey accent is saying it right. That's 14 days to try Texture for free when you go to texture.com/Ru. That's text.
You think you're saying texture?
I just sound like I'm saying or texture, like the word texture.
Yeah.
Texture.
Yeah, you're saying it perfectly.
I'm saying it right?
Yeah.
Texture.com/Ru.
I love it.
New Jersey.
Tyler Henry is here. That's a showbiz name, Tyler Henry. Is that your real name?
You know, Tyler Coolwine. Tyler Henry's my middle name, so got to shorten it.
Oh yeah. Oh good. Then good. I'm glad that you didn't use your full name because
too many vowels.
Not only that, but I tell people who get into show or being personalities, you want to keep some anonymity.
Right.
Have you had people who have not been obsessed with you?
Not yet. So obsessed with me.
It's good.
Yeah, thankfully. I mean, people have been very enthusiastic because of the really emotional nature of this and the connective nature of it. But it's very different. Like, people have come up to me on the street before and said, I never walk up to anybody, like singers, actors, actresses, but you're different. And I've thought about it, and it really is different, because it's one thing to see someone that you admire on the street, but it's another thing to see someone that you think could connect you to a loved one and cure a sense of, loss or help aid the grief process. It's just very different.
Yeah, it's true, because I think everybody assumes everyone knows the life's instructions. Everybody got the instructions on life except for me, and I think everybody feels that way. So when you meet someone who has insight, it allows you to sort of let your guard down, and that's why I think the emotions have come through. I remember meeting this woman. She was a guru, and it was at an event for her. And I remember walking over to her, and she held my hand, and she was so kind. And her name was Mama something. I don't remember. This is like 15, 17 years ago. And I remember being in her presence, and I immediately started crying because I could feel that she could feel me and that she had so much compassion. You know the story. I'm not religious, but there's a story of that. Marianne Williamson tells a story that apparently it's in the Bible. I've never read it, but that Jesus was able to heal the leper because the leper believed in. Because the Jesus could see through the leprosy, and through Jesus, the leper was able to not have it anymore. I'm screwing this story up.
Don't look to me.
But you guys know where I'm going with this.
Yep. I need to brush up on my Bible.
Yes. Yeah, you're our only hope in this room.
I know. We're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
But but it has so much to do with them trusting you and your vision.
For sure.
For that.
Absolutely. And trying to inspire a sense of trust in themselves too, I think is really important, because people leave that and they feel a sense of validation and an understanding with themselves that I think.
Which is what's my next question. Like, what do you get? Not you, but what does the person get out of knowing that, the person's with you? Like, when you find out your mother's with you, or I find out whoever's with me. Well, what do you get out of it? You know.
Right. My goal is really to provide that validation. So validation for me comes through information that a person can say, yes, that is correct. Because anybody can tell you your loved one loves you. You knew that in life. But a medium should be able to give validating pieces of information that show that there's a continuation of consciousness. And by being able to do that, that can really change how we view our lives, how we view learning, and really how we view mortality in a big way. So it really serves a lot of
because
purposes.
we all have a sense that there's more to this than just the physical thing. I mean, this table here looks like it's solid, but it's actually energy vibrating at a high rate of speed that our eyes cannot see, or So we want that validation. We innately know it, but having someone say, yes, your feelings are absolutely right. Right. Absolutely right. Yeah. When my mother was pregnant with me, she saw a psychic, and this is back in the horse and buggy days. So there was no. What's the machine that tells you what your
ultrasound?
Kid is? There's no ultrasound, and the psychic said, "It's a boy, and he's going to be famous."
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yes. Wow. Yes.
Where is that psychic today?
Where is that psychic today?
That's amazing.
Well, her name is Michelle Visage.
What can I do? I'll read you.
Read me to Phil.
Can I read you?
Read me.
Because I can.
So I grew up with that knowledge of knowing it. And there were some dark periods where I thought, it's not going to happen. It's not.
Of course. But that's part of comeuppance. That's part of paying your dues. Doubting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in life, not just in showbiz, but in showbiz, it's even harder because the auditions are like, no, you're not good enough. You're too ugly. You're too blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We've discussed that ad nauseum. But again, it's rejection daily. So of course you're going to feel that.
I did. I thought I had made but obviously it turned out to be the right thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And I remember I saw someone. I've seen him throughout my whole life, but I saw someone in New York. I think it was like around 97, something like this. And she told me things about my relationship with my father that were so helpful because apparently I had shared a past life with my father. Now, do you believe in past lives?
I do, which is interesting coming from a Christian background, coming to that understanding of having people come through and say, we keep learning.
It goes against everything you've taught.
Very different.
Or been taught.
Right, absolutely. So
because Christians don't believe in past lives?
Some do, but primarily the idea is that heaven or hell, you stay there for eternity.
Correct.
That's the gist. So
You book a table.
Exactly.
And you sit at
Hell,
that
table
there.
for one.
Exactly. Save me a seat.
Hopefully I'll be
Michelle.
running late. It's true. We'll be seating you now.
Try the veal.
It's delicious.
So you do believe in past lives?
I sure do. Yeah, absolutely. I found that through people coming through, they've acknowledged that lessons are really the fundamental process of understanding life, and that we go through a series of lessons, that lessons continue on in many different forms, and as long as we have consciousness, we're able to learn and be receptive to our surroundings.
I wonder how many times you have to go through this thing.
I know.
Me too. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope this is my last time. I'm like, God, I have
I
like
know.
5 lifetimes in one.
Yeah.
Different, though. They're different. Each lifetime is different. You're
Right.
not
Yeah.
who you are here in your next lifetime.
So, and some people would say that you are cognizant of some remnants
Yes.
of the past.
Yes, that's why they say an old soul. Like when my daughter Lily
Yeah.
was born, I knew instantly that she'd been here before. You don't
Right.
know what.
Is that
when,
the older one?
Yeah, in what capacity. Her eyes saw through you when they looked. The
Right.
minute she was born, you knew,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, the other one was totally different. You know?
Well, it's interesting because when I saw that psychic in the mid-'90s, she asked her about my relationship with my father, and she explained to me that I recognized him, but he couldn't recognize me because he couldn't recognize himself.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that, and I spent a lifetime saying, "Hey, buddy, it's us. We could do this thing together. Wake up, wake up, wake up!" And he couldn't see me. So I say, "You want some sorrow? You have some light. You want some joy? You want some laughter? You want some dancing? I'll give you. I perform." And he could not see it because he was so closed off. I guess there was so much pain. I don't know why a soul would be shut down like that.
That's pain.
Right.
It's pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he couldn't do it. And,
That was a defense to protect
Right.
that.
Yeah. What do people ever come to you with wanting to help open them up from being closed, like the way my father was?
Absolutely. I find a lot of people come oftentimes as skeptics. That's usually where you'll see it, where people come and they'll say, look, I'm a skeptic, never had an experience that's ever validated the afterlife, but I'm open to it.
Yeah.
Can you do that for me? And oftentimes I find that the people who are skeptical are actually some of the best readings.
Sure. Right.
Because
Yeah.
for me, I'm very information oriented. If someone's too open, they're going to try to make anything I say fit, and I don't want that. I always say I don't want to make a circle fit a square.
Right.
And on the show, there's many times where a client will say, "Oh, it's this," and I'm saying, "No, it's not that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not where you think it fits," and that's important. So I think getting that validation is keen.
Have you ever done a Ouija board?
I have done a Ouija board before. Nothing's ever happened.
Me neither.
And I would say the intention behind it is really everything. A Ouija board is, a piece of plastic, and that's about it. But it's the intention behind it. And it's the intention behind everything we do in life that I think does, to some extent, affect how we interact spiritually.
Well, talk about that. We talk about intention, though,
Yes.
because a lot of people don't know what their intention is. How do you guide your intention in this life, and how do you know which direction to go?
That's the thing. I think being aware of our intuition is so important, because when we are aware of ourselves and when we're self-aware, we're aware of our intent. We're aware of what we're wanting. And so many people go through life thinking they know what they want, but then they, through their actions, just paint a very different picture. And I think when we're aware of intent on a deep level, we can really change our lives. But intuition really helps us understand what we want, what our goals are, and our deeper self-awareness.
Well, Michelle and I talk about this a lot, about the two sides of the consciousness of the brain. There's the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, and how the person who believes in equality and women's rights and equality for all people will also write the Craigslist ad that says no fags, no femmes, no Asians.
Right.
And those two entities live at the same time, in the same body, in the same head. How do you reconcile that? How do you create an intention that is
pure,
is pure and focused with those two conflicting ideas?
Right, and that's part of being human. I think we all have those, two sides to some extent that we kind of have to really put to the side. I say that we all have conditioning, and in a reading, I have to put my conditioning, my feelings, my thoughts to the side and allow myself to be a clear conduit. In the same way that through life, if we can kind of put our conditioning to the side and be aware of our conditioning, then we can start changing it.
Right. Do you ever do readings while you're just drunk?
Funny enough, this is going to be interesting. I've never been drunk. I've never drank. I've never drank. Fully, ever. So, yeah, I don't know.
Heroin?
No heroin, but there's
RuPaul, the day is still young.
I mean,
let's go down and get some of that Malibu heroin.
Oh, Lord. It got hot in here. Is it just me? It got really warm suddenly. My publicist is calling. No.
So what about that though? What about intention? Like in terms of making sure that, how do you do with do you have a spiritual program? I know you come from a Christian background, but do you meditate? Do you do yoga? What do you do?
Yeah, I really try to just be present. I find that really to connect intuition fundamentally for all of us, if we can be present, that's how we really are self-aware. So when I go to a reading, I really try to just put my own thoughts and feelings to the side by doing a meditation, by setting the intention, by even oftentimes praying and saying, I want to connect to information that's going to be helpful to the client, that's going to be healing. And from there, I find that what comes through in its own right.
Who do you pray to?
That's a good question. I always, say my guides, angels, spirit guides, and a higher power. I like to kind of encompass it all, just in case, like Allah's over there.
Yeah,
I'm just like, everybody, whoever you are, just help me out.
Well, I tell this story too. When I was in high school, in a hippie high school, this girl was 14. She said, Ru, there are angels all around us at all times, but because we have free will, they will not intervene unless we ask for help. And so you've got to say, please help me.
Right.
Is that how you see this?
I definitely think that there are ways
14.
that things can come in. I know, that was quite a deep thought for 14.
Yeah. I was in San Diego. This is 1974 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think we all have guides, whether you want to call them angels, guides, spirit guides, everyone has a different name for them, but I do think we have forces in our lives that do, help us or assist us in a certain path. Now, is that necessarily stopping us from walking in front of a car? Not the case. But there might be certain lessons that we need to learn as a soul that they help kind of put in our path, and through synchronicities help us understand and, tell us what we need to learn.
And how would you recommend we access them? Do we indeed say, hey guys, if you're there,
right,
come on in?
Absolutely, intention is everything. So
are you there, God? It's me, Ru.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it's important because if you can just take that step to say, look, I'm open, then you've done the majority of the hard work.
Which is what you and I talk about a lot.
Yeah.
By putting it out to the universe, because we say, if you really write your order, this is what I want, and you deliver it with intent, pure intention. Look out.
Right.
Yes.
And trust.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Trust is a big one.
And trust. And which comes in time, which is what's so fascinating about you is that you've been given this gift at such an early age, and there's still so much as a human being that you still have to learn about, just even other people's intention,
Absolutely.
With you. And my hillbilly ass folks, they're both from Louisiana. They sent me out to the world with very few tools, very few processing tools.
Do you think that you learned the most of your processing tools from your sisters?
No, from the hard knocks.
Really? From just being out on the streets? From
being out there. I've always been a sweet person, a kind person, and people were never really too horrible to me, honestly. I was never bullied in school. People were always sweet to me. And as a defense, I would put on this sort of, I would put on a facade that would say, listen, you don't have to, I'm not going to threaten you. Because, being black and gay, a lot of people they don't know what box to put me in, especially, and then you add the drag to it, and they're like, what? What are you? I don't know how, I don't know if I don't want to fuck you, I don't want to be you, I don't want to, what are you? How do you fit? So I would always approach the situation with, I'm not here to harm you, and and my intention is love, and I have a smile on my face, and you don't need to fear me or have to try to figure me out.
Yeah.
But And I learned that technique really, really early.
Right.
Do people? Will you do readings on people under 21 or 18?
Absolutely.
Do parents write to you and say, I need you to help my kid?
For sure. And, I try to handle that sensitively because kids handle things very differently. And me being a kid myself, I don't necessarily always know how to deliver information to someone like that. So it's important for me to just be sensitive.
Let me, with that,
Yeah.
because it's interesting you brought that up. I'm convinced my 16-year-old daughter just came out of 2 horribly suicidal years of depression. Right. She was raised by my husband and I. We're still together. Right. Great life. What people don't understand in depression is there's not always a trigger. So I'm convinced that she has had some crazy past life that has left her with such trauma in this life. At 7 years old, she'd cry at night saying, I don't know what my purpose is on this earth. This is how deep this kid, 7 years old, right? So I'm convinced that she has had some major traumatic shit, some war, some losing somebody, something.
Right.
And I think it's interesting that you bring that up for children that are under 21, because I bet when there's somebody like a parent like me who can't figure out what's going on with my kid, that makes sense to bring her to a psychic medium.
But do you
past
have
life
to figure it out?
regressions?
Not so much, because
Okay.
that's an area I really don't have much experience with, and would only want to do a service that I was confident in.
So like Ruth said, how do you figure, like, does it come up? Does it present itself?
Definitely can. I've found that in readings, oftentimes, like, the focus is never past lives, but there will be little interesting details that'll come through that will make me think, okay, this doesn't really fit in with your one lifetime. So there must be a past life element to this. And oftentimes this will come out in people's cycles, their self-saboteurs, all that business. So it can be really interesting to see. And oftentimes kids do recollect on some level past life memories, or at least feel the effects of those memories.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense.
We got Tyler Hendry up in here.
Hendry!
We're going to take a little break real quick. We'll be right back. Girl, Casper is just taking over. The internet has spoken. They have said that Casper is the most favored premium mattress around.
Think about it. Back in the day, I'm talking, I don't know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, going to get a mattress was an ordeal. It was like buying a car.
Yeah.
And they were that expensive.
Oh, yeah.
The mattress industry has forced consumers into paying notoriously high markups. It's not okay. And Casper, obviously, is not a fan of that business model, and neither are we.
No, we are not.
Casper is revolutionizing the mattress industry by cutting the cost of dealing with resellers and showrooms and passing those savings on to who?
To you.
Thank you. Casper's mattresses are also fantastic. You've heard me rave about them. I'm not lying. It's literally the thing I look forward to every night. They're a hybrid mattress, and this was a big deal for me.
I got to tell you, and you've said this, it couldn't be easier to get this mattress at your house.
So easy.
So easy.
They deliver it in a box.
Love that.
You'll come home and you'll see your mattress in a box outside your door, and you guys can try sleeping on it for 100 days on a Casper mattress with free delivery, painless returns. If you don't like it, they'll even pick the mattress up. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. It's 100% risk-free. So what are you waiting for? Just go to get $50 toward any mattress purchase right now by visiting Casper.com/Rue using the offer code. You know what it is. It's RU. Terms and conditions may apply. That's Casper.com/RU. So get started to die.
We've got Tyler Hendry here from E's Hollywood Medium, and around the world it shows in many different places on your Hulus or your. I think I saw it was on Netflix, I believe, something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Have to check.
Yeah, it's just it's a fascinating story, and what's most fascinating is really how young you are. Have you met other slackics who are? You know what that's from?
No, I don't.
That's what was the show? Swapped wife swap.
Wife swap.
Oh, wife
Was
swap.
that what it was?
Yeah.
Where she said,
The Christian woman.
Yes.
Oh, this is that Christian.
Yes.
Yes.
This great big store, and there was slackics, tarot
Yeah.
cards.
Yes.
If you're with Jesus, you can stay, but if you're not, get out of my house.
The devil.
Yes.
I remember that episode.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
She was great.
Have you met other people your age who've had the? Are there conventions or is there like Psychic Con?
There probably are conventions somewhere out there,
Yeah.
but I really have found that there are other mediums out there. I have crossed paths with some, but again, everyone works so differently.
But your age, anyone that your age?
No one at the moment. No, there's some that are couple have some years on me, but no one really as young as I am.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at you and seeing how good your skin is, thinking how we would look in drag. Have you ever considered doing drag?
Oh, she'd be great in
drag
drag.
psychic.
I have
That's
thought of it.
That's another
Drag
show.
psychic.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
You hear that
You know
logo?
it. Yeah.
Have you done drag?
Not fully, but I would like to do. I think Mr. Period would be a good drag name.
Mr.
Period.
Period.
Mr. Period. Mr. Period.
I get it.
I know. I'm here all week.
That's
I'm getting it.
amazing.
So someday.
But then you've got a slight body. You could wear any. You're a sample size, you know.
Courtney
Yeah,
Act
you
better
are.
watch out.
Yeah.
I'm fishy for days. This fish is out of water. And I'm thirsty. Okay, this got deep. Oh my.
No, but that's what's so fascinating is that you're so young. I just can't be. I'm trying to imagine myself at 21, and I was just searching. I was looking, and it from the surface, it looks like you've got the answers.
Oh, not at all. I wish.
know?
I wish. You know, I think that I definitely can provide validation through the ability. But I always tell people, first and foremostly, I'm just a messenger.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day,
You really are.
I go home
Yeah.
and I deal with every problem everybody else deals with. I have to process my own ego, my own self-saboteurs. I'm still learning things every single day, as we all are. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm just the mailman.
What is your spiritual? Do you have a practice? What are your spiritual practices?
Well, meditation primarily, being
How
present.
do you meditate?
With music, oftentimes. People oftentimes have this misconception that meditation has to be crossing your legs and going but I think
And
there's
levitating.
Right, exactly.
That would be fun.
That wouldn't it? I need to work on that ability. But being mindful is actually really just the most important part, I think, of my spirituality, being present. Because when you're present, you're a clear vessel. And that's important for my work in life.
Yeah. Do you ever go into a house and feel just a darkness come over you?
There are times where I'll walk into spaces where I will feel that maybe a traumatic event occurred.
Yeah.
Interestingly, on season 1 of the show, I went to Heather Dubrow's house in Orange County, and it was
Yeah.
like this huge house, over 25,000 square feet or something.
Jeez.
And I walked into a room and said, there's going to be a leak in here, and I need you to know this. Like, I see a pipe bursting. I see this entire room flooding. And she was like, okay, that's good to know. Like, months later, they went public and said that, sure enough, as they were going through this process of building their house, the room that I went into, that very pipe did burst. And it happened way after the fact. And I mean, this house was like 25,000 square feet, so huge. And it was just such an interesting validation because walking into a space, you know, I'm not looking for negative energy. I'm not looking for pipes
Right.
bursting. I just feel and see certain things.
Yeah. It's interesting. The name of your book is what?
Between Two Worlds.
Between Two. Does it actually guide people into understanding their own intuition, to understanding how to interpret their own intuition?
Definitely. It really focuses on just the things that we can do to basically be more present, be more aware of the synchronicities that are all around us, and the interconnection that really we're all a part of. It's just realizing that and seeing that, and then on a deeper level feeling that. And our intuition helps us do that.
You know, it's funny you say that the title. I knew it sounded familiar. Between Two Worlds. I believe that's Lady Bunny's title for her autobiography too.
Is it?
Between Two Worlds.
hilarious.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Gonna have to give her a call.
Yes.
Lady Bunny knows how to write?
No, I'm trying to make a joke. I couldn't say that about a transsexual because that's
No, you
not,
can't.
I
You
I
can.
can say it about Lady Bunny,
Yes,
though.
you can. You can say anything.
Actually, I should have said that joke about you, though.
You could have.
Between Two Worlds.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. Between two legs. Would be more accurate.
Between two thighs.
Yes.
Between Two Thighs.
Yes.
Yes. And do you write it yourself? Did you dictate it? How did you write the book?
Well,
You what?
It was really only on the weekends, Rue. It was really important for me to make sure when I wrote this book that it was my own words, that it was me doing all of the writing. I definitely had editors that would help say, "Hey, you can't include that."
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, for
Well,
me,
they're just looking out for you.
for sure.
Yeah.
So I had full, control over it, and it's really important. I didn't want a ghostwriter, pardon the pun,
Right.
Because
right.
for me, it's such a sensitive thing and such a unique thing that I'm really the only one that can speak on it
Yeah.
with my experience and my story. So
Speaking of ghostwriters, I told Michelle this story about the time I was at the Chateau Marmont over 20-something years ago, where this, I come home from work that night and I closed the door and I put the chain on. But when I woke up, all of the items in the room had been rearranged and placed on the bed.
Wow.
And they had it basically sort of not trapped me in the bed. It's outlined my body with all of the items from the nightstand and all this stuff were just laying on the bed.
You had a neat OCD poltergeist.
Probably.
There's a lot of hauntings.
Oh, I called
the
down
Chateau
to the
Marmont.
front desk
Yeah.
and they said, "Oh, Rue, we get somebody calls once a week and says they've had some type of an occurrence
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's crazy. Anyway, I just want to ask, I know that your mom drives you to your appointments. So aside from going to appointments, are you going to get your driver's license?
I mean, it's time.
I'm going to do it. I think it is.
You live in Malibu. That's for people who don't know LA. That's like out in the boondocks.
It is.
Middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm definitely going to get my license.
But you're by me, so we can have tea.
Exactly. We'll go meet. Walk on the beach.
Why don't you have your driver's license?
Well, for me, it really has been a process of when I go to these readings, I have to be clear, and I try to really
I
go in.
understand
Let's go
that
back to
part.
being
There's that. But
16.
about
Tyler.
you just
There
being
is that.
16?
Well, I had basically a medical incident that happened when I was 18. So between
Was it
16
a
and 18.
fisting accident?
No, thankfully. That's later years. But no, in this case, this was actually a brain cyst. And unfortunately, I had brain swelling when I was 18. I had a headache for 3 weeks. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I think my brain's swelling. I talk about it in the book. And I basically said, like, I think my brain is swelling. I need you to believe me.
Why
And she
did you
just-
think your brain was swelling?
I just felt it. I had this headache and I knew it was a weird headache. And I told my mom and she was like, oh, that's interesting. You know, whatever. She kind of blew it off. Fast forward, I was hospitalized with hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain,
Right.
due to an arachnoid brain cyst, which caused my brain to swell. And I had to go into emergency brain surgery to get this cyst aspirated.
Actually felt it swelling.
Yes. And it was one of the weirdest moments of my entire life. Went into emergency brain surgery, went on for 6 hours, came out. But after that, they really, questioned my ability to drive and certain, things
Sure,
along those lines.
sure.
So after that, I mean, now I have the clearing to do it, but that definitely kind of set me back with
Yeah.
driving.
But
I
that's
believe
long
it.
gone, darling.
I know
Yeah.
exactly. No excuses.
And
Yeah.
hello, there's
Yeah.
and then, there's Uber,
Exactly.
But so you said arachnoid something. Is
that sounds like it's something to do with a
spiders?
spider.
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's like a spider-shaped thing. It's like,
Oh, but
very
the spider
scien-
didn't bite you.
No, thankfully. That
Yeah.
would be quite Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Like
that-
backstory.
yeah,
Watch
yeah.
out.
So that happened.
Peter
and
Parker.
then,
Yep.
so how long between the time you've said, "Oh, my brain is swelling," and the time
How
the
many
doctor
weeks?
said we're going to have to
Yeah.
do something?
I want to say it was within like a 3-week period. It
3-week
was,
period.
yeah, it was all pretty quick. So.
Were they intense headaches?
They were. And it was, for me, it was like not only just a headache, but it felt like a drill, like going to the brain.
Oh,
like it was like
dear.
next level. And I
Yeah.
actually, by the end of the period of time, I was sleeping like most of the day. I really felt like if I had not gone to the doctor, I probably would have passed away. And they said with hydrocephalus, if you do not get it treated, you just go into a coma and you die.
Oh my!
And I was
But I
like,
guess you could feel if you're in touch with your body in any
Yeah.
way, shape, or form,
Yes.
you can feel. I've had 2 brain MRIs because I'm so neurotic about headaches because I
Yeah.
had something called tension headaches. So when they happen, and it's every single day, you
Right.
wake up with a headache, you go to sleep with a headache.
Right.
It's definitely something to look into.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the thing is that most people don't know the difference
No.
between am I a
MRI.
hypochondriac or do I have has a spider bit my brain?
Listen, for 3 weeks, you're not a hypochondriac.
Yeah. Right.
Something's going on. Even if it's just a tension headache related to stress,
Yes.
that's still something that
Yeah.
needs to be treated.
Absolutely.
Because you should not have a headache every day for 3 weeks.
It's very true.
And he
Yeah.
felt his brain swelling.
For sure.
It's
Wow.
like Mega Man.
It's outrageous.
Megamind.
I wonder if we will, as humanity, evolve to the place where we can actually use our intuition in a way that actually helps us. Why are we so blocked?
I do. I use it on Trivia Crack every day when I play it.
I know you do.
But here's the funny thing. I mean, I'm being funny, obviously.
yeah.
But it's a stupid example to show you that listen to your intuition is
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 correct. Like when I get sports questions and my worst category is history, when I have no idea, my eye is going to that answer. And when I don't do that answer, it ends up being right and I end up being wrong. So the point is, I always say, listen to your intuition. John will tell you. There used to be a psychic back in the day called Shar. Do you remember her?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, she's still around.
Is she? And Mickey Dane and all them, they would all say, we're all born with the gift.
Yeah.
We are. But it's a matter of listening to it or, like you said earlier, trusting it. And 99% of us do not listen, do not trust. As a matter of fact, be like, girl, why the hell would you be
Right,
that?
because we want our private intention to be the correct.
Correct.
One. Yeah.
But most of the time, it ain't.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's bias.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you do
Correct.
tarot cards?
I did at one point, and that actually for me was helpful in basically being able to compartmentalize information and deliver it kind of like little folders. So I'd sit down with a reading, pull a couple cards, and it would just kind of help all of what was floating around mentally kind of be more specific and certain kind of knowing where information fit together in what areas of people's lives. But I don't use them anymore.
So are you open to all of those kinds of tools like tea leaves and
Stars.
They're all tools. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that really what I find is that it's more about the practitioner than it is the practice. It's more about the individual's intuition and their ability than it is the laminated cards in front of you
Right.
or the tea leaves or anything along those lines. It's really more so about the skill level of the intuitive person.
Now let's talk. I mean, more importantly, your skin. How is it? Why is it so good?
I'm breaking out right now. Got good
You have
concealer.
no
It's good
pores.
concealer.
You're not- I don't
It's good.
see
I'm
any
like
concealer.
sweating. I'm like,
I
oh
don't
Lord.
see any
Well, good. I
concealer.
did my makeup then. I got the seal of approval from RuPaul.
Yay. Just a very slight, but he's very good at doing what he has to do to make himself feel. I know what that's like to feel like you just want everything to be smooth when you walk out the door. He's very good at
Thank
So what are
you.
you
touching up.
what
Do you have like
what
a
are you
BB cream
wearing?
on
What
or
is it? A
something?
BB?
You know, I use Too Faced foundation.
Oh, I love their lip pumper.
Born This Way?
The lip
Yeah,
pumper.
Born This Way.
Lip Injection Extreme.
Yes.
Born This Way foundation.
Yes.
I'm a
Born This Way Where do you
huge
get it,
Too Faced
Sephora?
fan.
Sephora, yeah.
And is it a powder or is it an actual
It's an actual
cream?
liquid cream.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
do
it's
you use a
really good.
powder with it?
I do. I do it to
But you
set.
do have good skin, though.
Oh, shucks.
No, it's true, though, right?
It's the 12-year-old skin in me.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
But I'm
there's
I'm
that.
asking, though, it is really good skin, though,
Oh,
right?
thank you. You're so sweet.
No, I'm asking a question.
I maybe. I mean, I had acne really badly in high school.
You
so
did,
yeah.
didn't
Did
I
you?
do.
You have no
thank you.
pores. You have no
Oh,
scarring.
jeez, you're so sweet.
No, it's true. So what do you do? What do you eat?
Got to exfoliate and lots of Brussels sprouts actually.
You like Brussels
You know,
sprouts?
you know it. Veggies.
They're very good for
I
you.
love Brussels sprouts. You know, there's a place over there. What's that sushi place? Oh, is it Roku over on 3rd near the Beverly Center that they used to go to? You used to go years
I did?
ago. Yeah, it was like 15
Oh,
years ago.
Sushi Roku.
Yeah, across from there.
By the Beverly Center.
Yes.
Yes.
Across from there,
Expensive.
there's this place that has these braised or something Brussels sprouts. They're so
Oh,
it's
my
like
God.
I know where we're going after this.
Yeah. Oh, my
There's
mouth is watering
nothing.
thinking about it.
There's nothing like somebody who knows how to cook a Brussels sprout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
So you're eating. So you're eating really good food. You take care of yourself.
Absolutely. Got to try to do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups every day is the goal. I've been doing it for a week and a half now, so let's see how it
Good boy.
goes. You know?
Good. But so do you feel blessed?
Oh my gosh, I feel so lucky. I wake up every single day with so much gratitude, and I'm actually thankful that I'm so thankful because I feel like it helps my work.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I'm thankful for
Truly.
being thankful.
Yeah, like honestly, because I feel like if I weren't appreciative of what I had, I would be filled with ego, I'd be filled with distraction, unappreciation, and it would make it very difficult to connect.
Have you ever met other psychics who you thought
Psychics.
this bitch is a fraud?
Oh, you know, I
have.
in the process of being read by over 200, I would say there were quite a few that I felt
What
were not legitimate.
percentage of 200?
The majority.
Really?
Yeah, I would say I had bad experiences with a lot of psychics, which is actually really helpful because it showed me how not to do a reading.
Yeah.
It showed me, basically, in going through all these experiences, the type of reading I would want to give
Yeah.
based on the type of reading I would receive.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I've had some ones who want me to go back to the ATM and get some more money
Yeah.
to take a spell off.
oh God,
Are you kidding
it's
me?
The worst.
Yes.
My mom went to
Yeah.
a psychic, and she told her like, you need to like come back. We have to burn a candle.
Yeah.
It's $500.
Yeah.
It's absolute nonsense. I do not believe in curses. I think that if someone's intent is good, you're going to feel it, you're going to see it, and you're not going to be left questioning, was that real or not?
How do you find for people listening? How do you find a good psychic, an authentic psychic?
Well, I consider it a practice. So with anything, whether you're going to see a doctor or a psychic, you're not going to call a 1-800 line.
Right.
Right.
And so for me, I really recommend getting a referral, having friends that have maybe seen an intuitive person, and kind of getting a recommendation is really important.
Right.
So.
Well, Michelle went to a boob doctor called Dr. Boobs. What was it?
Dr. 90210.
Dr. 901. I mean, that doesn't sound like it'd be reputable, but he did
Because
do a good
let me
job.
tell you why. When I met him, it was from research. He didn't have a TV show.
Oh.
When I met him, he was just starting the TV show. And said,
Okay.
"Hey, would you be on the TV show?" And I was on like the
Oh,
first.
were you on?
Yeah, I was.
Oh.
But you literally, it was for 3 seconds.
Because I just wouldn't go to a doctor called
Me
Dr.
neither.
90210.
Now that I know him, I would never. Like, I wouldn't have gone if he had this
Right.
TV show, knowing what he's like on that TV show. Dr. Ray is a very skilled surgeon. He's incredible. And I met him before the insanity of
Right.
that TV show.
Because I'm wondering, has the TV show helped your business or hurt your business?
You know, I found
He
that.
doesn't act like a fool, though.
That's true.
Well, I try to be authentic to myself and everything. And so I think that with the show, people see what I do. And they find that when they interact with me in public or they get a reading personally, that it's really not that different than what they see on the show. So that makes it really easy for me.
Well, Tyler Henry has a show called Hollywood Medium on E! You can catch it on different formats and platforms like probably Hulu and
All dems.
all of them.
Yeah.
And on
Whatever, just
Airplane.
Google it. You can watch it. I mean, through your cable provider, you can watch it on E! Online.
Sure. Yeah. You are just a joy. I just love you so much.
Thank you so
just
much,
a
Ru.
lovely, lovely spirit. And I'm so honored that you came on our show.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank
I
you,
feel so
sweetheart.
privileged. You guys are the best.
Well, thank you. And Michelle, until next time,
Yes.
I psychically see you. I psychically see you here next week.
Sounds good.
And I cannot wait.
Okay. till we-
Validation.
yes, exactly. Thank you for that validation. So till next time.
Bye.
Can I get an amen? If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen?
And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes.
can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Amen.